All right. Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? I'll give you an opportunity to pop on here in a little bit um, and greet each other. But until then, we're going to get going. Um, just a quick update on me. Things seem to be going pretty well. I think I'm on the other side of this COVID door, so I am grateful. I am grateful. My symptoms have been very mild and did not escalate into something much worse. So I should be returning back to work tomorrow. I've got the clear from them. So there's that. There's that good news. So um, I'm going to start off with a song. Coming home to unity, heaven is here right now. Coming home to unity, heaven is here right now. Coming home to unity, heaven is here right now. Coming home to unity, heaven is here right now. We gather here today to laugh and learn and pray, to feel the light within us grow. And now it's time to start, to open every heart to what we already know. Coming home to unity, heaven is here right now. Coming home to unity, heaven is here right now. Coming home to unity, heaven is here right now. Coming home to unity, heaven is here right now. 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 Heaven is coming home to unity. Heaven is here right now. Coming home to unity. Heaven is here right now. Heaven is here right now. Heaven is here right now. Good morning, everybody. I'm Reverend Michael Davis. Glad to be here, Zooming from home. Next week, we'll be back. We should be back at 907 North Delaware. So please join me in affirming our statement of truth. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God the good, omnipotent. Surely the presence of love is in this place. I can feel God's mighty power and the grace. I can hear the brush of angel wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of love is in this place. Surely the presence of love is in this place and in all places and in all people. Knowing and accepting this, we bless all people no matter their race, color, creed, or expression of love. Knowing that there are many paths to God, many names for God, many faces of God, but only one God. And this God is expressing through all creation in many ways. We come here together, whether live on Zoom or watching on Facebook Live or watching later, but we're here together to express and experience the Christ presence, the Christ spirit that dwells within each of us. Good morning, everybody. And now Michael Wright is going to join us from his living room with today's daily word.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Advent celebration. And let us together um, share in the celebration of Michael's return to health. Um, Today is Sunday, December 13th, and appropriately, the word for today is love. Love surrounds me and fills my heart. Love fills my senses throughout this Advent season. I find it in the taste and aroma of my favorite holiday recipes, lovingly made. I hear it in my favorite Christmas music, sung with joy. I feel love in a child's enthusiastic hug and in a friend's caring touch. I see love and joy in the festive decorations adorning houses and neighborhoods. The love of friends, family, and neighbors at Christmas time surrounds me in so many ways. Throughout the year, love remains the most beautiful evidence of the presence of God in and through all things. Love is the harmonizing power that infuses the world and everyone in it. Inspired by divine love, I perceive the divine in every person and all situations. And the scripture for today is 1 Corinthians 13:13. And now faith, hope, and love abide. These three, and the greatest of these is love. And so it is.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Our word for December is plenty, and our affirmation is I have plenty. Plenty is enough. Plenty is enough to share. So we're going to state this together. We will do this wedding vow style. So just repeat after me. I have plenty. Plenty is enough. Plenty is enough to share. And let's do that again. Let's do this um, prayerfully. We'll come to the we'll reach or approach this as if it is a prayer. I have plenty. Plenty is enough, and plenty is enough to share. And now let's wake up everybody else in the house. Okay. I have plenty. Plenty is enough. Plenty is enough to share. Awesome. Let us pray. As we gather in the divine presence today, we affirm the truth of God's perfect life and love at work now for the highest good of all. In our unity with one another, we hold the high watch, seeing the truth of our being that we are all children of God. And if you are so inclined at this time, you can speak aloud the name of anyone who is in need of prayer support. If you're watching on Zoom, you can unmute your microphone and speak the name aloud into the Zoom room if you like, or you can type that into the chat box here on Zoom. Or if you're watching on Facebook Live, please type those names in the chat box, and we will send our prayer chaplains will pray over those prayer requests, and then those will be sent to Silent Unity for 30 more days of prayer. And we know the power of prayer and how wonderful it works. We know that God is a love that has no end and a power that knows no bounds. God's healing power of divine life is restoring, healing, and revitalizing our world in this very moment. We let go of any fears or anxieties, and we affirm that all are safe, healthy, and protected. We bless all those who support us in maintaining vibrant, radiant health. We express divine life in all we think, say, and do. We bless our global family with radiant health, peace of mind, and abundant love. And so it is. All right. So if we have anybody that's joining us for the first time, welcome, welcome, welcome. We would love to get to know you a little bit better. If you want to type your name in the chat, that would be great. So we can recognize you. If you're on Zoom at this time, I'm going to invite you to go ahead and start your video so we can see you and we can wave at each other and see who all's here on Zoom. Well, that's three people I knew for sure. So there's Todd. Good morning. And good morning, everybody on Facebook Live. I see Mike Ferns is there. Deb Hart May is there. Greg Massamore, awesome. Good morning. Bill, I see you. Diane, good morning. Karen, good morning. Ed is everywhere. Leisha and Mom, good morning. Lynette, good morning. Doreen, this is awesome. Roderick and Rita, I see you guys too. This is great. So good morning, everybody. Dorothy is on Zoom. She didn't have a camera, so she's waving, and Ruth is here with us too. This is awesome. Good morning, everybody. So go ahead and turn your cameras off. And so that was our meet and greet. So which is going to move us on to Advent. This is the third Sunday in Advent. So Ed will be helping me out today. So Ed, if you want to go ahead and bring your camera onto the altar. Thank you. Advent is traditionally celebrated as we approach Christmas, and you don't need to see me read this, so we'll make that big. There we go. Advent is traditionally celebrated as we approach Christmas as a time leading up to the birth of Jesus. In Unity teachings, we see this time as the birth of the Christ consciousness in each of us. This Advent season, we're going to be taking a new approach to honoring the advent of the Christ consciousness within us. Along with the traditional themes of faith, peace, love, and joy, we will follow our evolution toward Christ consciousness through the four elements: earth, air, water, and fire, along with the gifts of the Magi: gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Week 1, we added to the altar a crystal to represent the earth, a rock to represent faith, and a gold coin to represent purity and prosperity. In week 2, we added the element of wind and the wind chime to remind us of the unseen power of the universe, frankincense to represent our transformation from its physical earthly form to the spiritual. And as that incense is burning now, it is going from the earthly form into smoke, into the spiritual. And the olive branch and the white feather to represent peace and harmony. This is the third week of our journey into our exploration into our Christ consciousness, a journey to renew us through the birth of our own inner Christ. Our focus today is love. Love is God in us and through us. Let us light our lives with love. Mary represents love. Mary worshiped God and pondered on his truth. When love is directed by God, it manifests its wisdom and brings a greater awareness of the Christ. This third week of Advent, we will add the element of water. Water popularly represents life. It can be associated with birth, fertility, and refreshment. Christians are baptized with water, symbolizing a purification of the soul and an admission into the faith. Metaphysically, the waters of Genesis in 1, 6, and 7 represent unexpressed possibilities in mind. There must be a firm starting point established. This point, or firmament, is faith, moving on the unformed capacities of spirit consciousness. And we place on this altar a vessel of water. This water represents the healing and the restoring source. God is the source. Next, we add the gift of myrrh. Metaphysically, myrrh represents the eternity of spirit, an emblem of the resurrection, an ointment of love. And we place on the altar some myrrh oil. And today's theme is love. Love is a divine attribute. God is love, and love is God. Divine love is broad and unlimited, a universal and harmonizing power. We place on this altar a heart. The heart is the focus, is the lotus of physical and spiritual being, and represents the central wisdom of feeling as opposed to the head wisdom of reason. It is compassion and understanding, life-giving and complex. It is a symbol for love. Let us pray. Father, Mother God, Divine Spirit, we feel the power of the divine love at work in us, preparing the way for the expression of our Christ selves. You are love, and we are love in expression. Love expresses in our homes as patience, as order, and as loving discipline. Love expresses in our world as peace, harmony, and spiritual love. For all of these expressions, we do give thanks and praise. Love came down at Christmas. Love, a lovely love divine. Love was born at Christmas. Stars and angels gave the sign. Love will be our token. Love be yours and love be mine. Love from God to all of us. Love for plea and gift and sign. And so it is. Amen. And before Ed does his talk, we have a video as our special music.
cried, in bridges he burned, or the way that she died. Though the story never ends, let's celebrate, remember, and here in the light of praise, remember that love.
Good morning, everybody. And thank you, Michael, for playing that music. I'm Ed Trout. It's my pleasure to speak to you today. And we are in Advent, as we noticed. And yes, today the topic is love, amongst other things. So 2 weeks ago, Michael gave us a stirring talk about faith and brought on those other elements and talked about specifically Peter representing faith, Peter the rock, pulling that into earth. And then last week, Louise gave us a beautiful message about peace and also brought in the aspect of frankincense and those other things we had talked about. So today, I'm hoping to engage those elements that Michael brought up, with the Advent celebration. We've got the aspect of water. And one of the aspects of water, there are many metaphysical meanings to water, but one that I think is most crucial and important right now is that the cleansing aspect, that we become refreshed, we become renewed. It's that sense of, in Judaism, in ancient Israel, when they would go into the bath before the temple and cleanse themselves ritually with water, that's that aspect of water cleansing us to be renewed. And then myrrh, that gum resin that is so valued. It was added to ointments, it was added to wines, it could be burned as well as incense, but it was often used to anoint the royal and the wealthy, the holy, and even then used in embalming. And it's worth noting, I think, too, that when Jesus was on his way to the cross, he was offered wine with myrrh in it. So it's there at the beginning and there at the end. But myrrh in and of itself is an ointment of love and divine nature. Love is one of our 12 powers. One of the 12 powers that Charles Fillmore identified. Love represents our ability to attract, our ability to have desire and to unify. Love is represented by the Apostle John the Beloved, John the Divine. And that power center is located, not surprisingly, right at the back of your heart. And just as the heart circulates our blood, so that truth center circulates that power of love so that we get that spiritual sustenance of love. It becomes important, though, that we also remember to temper that love with our wisdom. So the wisdom is located right there in the pit of your stomach, that place where you feel things so deeply, and that sort of intuitive wisdom settles in. So engaging both of those to work together is hugely important. Michael played for us that beautiful song from the musical Rent, and that was from the film version, obviously, Seasons of Love, where, especially I think in a year like this, we start looking at a year that in some ways has dragged on for a decade and in some ways has gone by in a blink. This year, how do we measure it? It's not going to be measured like other years. And so, as they say, you can measure in sunsets, cups of coffee, all of these things, how somebody lived, how somebody died. But measuring in love, the season of love, measuring by that is the key. Michael also sang as part of the Advent celebration, Love Came Down at Christmas, which is a beautiful song based off of a poem. Love came down at Christmas, love, a lovely love divine. Love was born at Christmas. Stars and angels gave the sign. That's a very familiar reference, right? Stars and angels giving us the sign of love coming down at Christmas, where I believe most are pretty familiar with the basic elements of the Christmas story and the nativity. We sometimes forget, though, that the material that we take from the Gospels for those stories really come from two separate sources, and they sort of look at different aspects. We've got Luke, who gives us the aspect of the shepherds and the angels, and it's a very humble, very worldly, very everyman, every person kind of view. And then you get Matthew, who brings in the star and the magi coming from the east, and Herod, and it's this very worldview, divinity, messianic view. And we take those two. We take the worldly, the earthly, and the divine, and we sort of meld them all together into this one story that we know. And let's be honest, the Christmas story as we depict it is probably not 100% historically accurate. Bible scholars generally agree that December 25th was not Jesus' birthday. In fact, it's not declared exactly when it is, but all the clues point to spring. However, we sort of moved it to this time of year because there were so many other pagan celebrations this time of year, dealing with the shorter days, the lack of light, and people that were either holding on to hope and burning Yule logs and bringing more light in, or knowing that with that divine help the light would return. So we sort of integrated these symbols into these existing rituals and existing celebrations. So when we look at Scripture, there is history there, but there's a lot of allegory. And no matter how we're looking at it, Scripture is always meant to be personal, like any sacred text. It was not written for just the person that wrote it. Now, there may be aspects that come from a very specific time and place, but it is meant to be personal. And I started thinking about that. This time, this year, the year of 2020, from a personal standpoint, is very different for most of us than any other year that we've encountered. I don't believe any of us who are currently either in this Zoom or watching on Facebook at the moment experienced the last global pandemic, the Spanish flu back in 1918 to 1920. That was the last time we really saw something of this nature. And so it got me thinking, and actually I've been thinking about this for a couple of months, but I hadn't really found material. I thought Unity's been around longer than that. Unity existed through that last pandemic. What were they saying during that time? How were they looking at these messages? And for some reason, finally, I found the material of the 1918-1919 source. So Unity magazine, and for those that want to look back, you can find lots of old issues of Unity magazine going back that far and farther at truthunity.org. This is not any kind of an advertisement. I'm just saying they're available. So I looked back at December of 1918 and December of 1919 through those magazines. And of course, all of the early Unity authors, and Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, the co-founders of Unity, they understood that Christmas time, yes, it was a time of joy, it was a time of expectancy, it was a time of giving and sharing, but it was also metaphysically representing something else. So from the December of 1918 Unity magazine, Ida M. Mingle had an article. The article itself is called "The Birth of Christ in Individual and Universal Consciousness." And this is just a tiny excerpt from it. I did do a little bit of editing just to make it a little more personal and direct and remove some of the gendering that was in it. But this, other than those pronouns, this is what Ida had to say. Not until you permit its coming forth does the Christ seed implanted in you begin to unfold. Once you become conscious of the Christ nature, you yourself become the father-mother of the newborn creature. The Christ in you is originally begotten by the Father, wisdom, and the Mother, love, in divine mind, and contains within itself all the unexpressed capacities of the divine parent. The Christ is the only begotten Son of God, the beloved gift of God to you. As Christ was originally created through the merging of the wisdom and love elements of divine mind, it follows that if you would liberate the Christ capacities in your own being, you must align your ideas of wisdom and love to a divine pattern. Having discerned that you are God created, the quickened soul boldly lays claim to your inheritance. Instead of thinking of yourself as sinful, sickly, and dying flesh, you assert the truth that you are sinless, sickless, deathless spiritual being. So powerful words, and ones that 100 years later are reassuringly along the lines of what we still talk about today. And in fact, with what Michael Wright read earlier and what Michael Davis did with the altar earlier, I kind of thought, do I even need to speak? They've covered really everything there is to say, but I will reiterate here. Going 1 year later to December of 1919, and this was about 5 months before the end of the Spanish flu, if I have my dates correct. I believe it was from about February of 1918 to through around April of 1920. So there was a writing of Charles Fillmore in Unity magazine. He started with the observation about the placement of the holiday and what I just talked to you about, that it is sort of placed because of the pagan rituals that were there to begin with. But Charles wrote, "The divine man, which Jesus brought forth, must be born into the consciousness of the higher self, or the birth of Christ." He said, "We must perceive the real man is constantly coming forth. This is the meaning of Christmas. It does not belong to the past. It is a vital, living, present truth. The bringing forth of the Christ child is not a work that is finished in Bethlehem. It is taking place in our midst every day. It is this that we celebrate." And Charles and Myrtle Fillmore understood this great season very well. But Myrtle also warned us against overspending, overdoing in the material side of it. She said, instead, it would be more in conformity with the Christ spirit to use the time in sending out to our friends the joyful thoughts that come spontaneously from the Christ love. The gift is but the symbol of what we desire for our friends. When we identify ourselves with outside things, she said, the giving is empty and hollow. And she quoted, "The gift without the giver is bare." Now, that quote, "the gift without the giver is bare," is from 19th century poet James Russell Lowell. And more completely, that quote states, "Not what we give, but what we share. For the gift without the giver is bare." Let me read that again. Not what we give, but what we share. The gift without the giver is bare. The gift and the giver are one. So in giving, we have to be giving of ourselves. We are sharing. And without that giver, that gift becomes meaningless. It becomes nothing but material. This loving season, this entire season of love, is a reminder of the birth of your Christ consciousness. And it's not just now, but it is every day. You are a spiritual being. having a human experience in this world, but without a focus on God, without that combination of wisdom and love bringing forth your awareness, your life can feel bare. And it is possible to go through life living a bare life. This year has had so many challenges for so many of us. I would dare to say for all of us. There are so many losses. We've had deaths of loved ones. We've had losses of income, careers, homes. So much that has gone. And yet, there is still love. Because God is love. And as we acknowledge, and we acknowledged it earlier, we say it all the time, the first unity principle. God is the only presence, the only power that exists in the universe. So love is the only presence. We measure this year and measure our lives in love. Your life here is the gift, and God, the divine spirit, the divine mind, is the giver. Those two combined are shared. Open that gift of your Christ consciousness and experience this season of love to the fullest. And now let us prepare for a meditation. If you're comfortable doing so, close your eyes. Make sure you're comfortable in your chair or couch or bed, or if you're standing, feet flat on the floor. Go ahead and put your palms in your lap, palms up. And I want you to take a nice deep breath in through the nose and then exhale through the mouth. Keep breathing deeply, but on that next breath, I want you to move your focus into that wisdom center. I want you to breathe in deeply into the wisdom center and then breathe out deeply again. That pit of your stomach, again, breathe in deeply right into the pit of your stomach and right back out. And as you continue breathing deeply, I want you to move that focus up just a little bit to that heart center, that back of the heart where the center of the power of love resides. Breathe into that heart center and breathe out again. And keep breathing into that heart center as I do a reading. This is a heavily adapted meditation from Reverend Elizabeth Longo. It was shared by Unity in their pamphlet, The Spirit of Christmas for Advent. So if it feels right to you, let these words be your words. I know that the essence of all life is love. When I awaken the power of love within me and allow it to lead me, I awaken the power of God to come forth through me in a unique and beautiful way. Love heals, unifies, opens my heart, and transforms me and our world. When my heart is open wide, there is plenty of room for the essence of love to heal my wounds, to nurture my soul, and to mend my broken places. Love lifts the veil of darkness and reveals the expansive, joyous nature that is ever flowing in my heart, ready to come forth as new life. Love opens my heart to an infinite field of possibilities, a space wide enough to welcome all experiences free from judgment. Love sees through the eyes of compassion and realizes my true nature. This Christmas, I allow the transformative power of love to renew my spirit. I become willing to forgive and release all that is no longer serving me. I tear down the walls of separation and dive deep into my heart. Then I will share my light of love as a gift to the world. And I am both giver and gift, for I am the love of God. Focus on that truth as we enter into the silence. And as you bring your focus back to the group, I would like to close this meditation with a prayer by Unity's poet laureate, James Dillett Freeman. May there always be room in your heart for divinity to find a birthing place. May you be holy as the angels were, faithful as the shepherds were, humble as the cattle were, wise as the wise men were. May you have the compassion Mary had and the understanding Joseph had. And may the blessing of the Christ child be yours, not because of his birth night long ago, but because his love is born in you today. And so it is. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Ed. That was, oh my gosh, that was such a beautiful, beautiful, powerful message. The giver and the gift are the same. So true. So now it's going to be the time we're going to prepare for our love offering. I invite you, since we're all virtual today, I invite you to go to our website at www.unityofindy.org and donate online. Or you can mail a check to Unity of Indianapolis at 907 North Delaware Street. Or you can also give Sue a call on the church number, and she will happily take a card number over the phone. Plus, she just loves to talk to you. So as you prepare all of that, I have just a couple of announcements. Next Sunday, we will be broadcasting again we'll be broadcasting from Unity, from the building again. So we should be done with quarantine. I'm done now. Ed has a couple of days that he needs to remain distant. Though he tested negative and had no symptoms or very few symptoms, and I seem to be on the other side of all this. So this is so I'm grateful, and all of the prayers and the well wishes meant so much, and I know that power of prayer helped me through this journey. So be sure and watch your email and the Spiritual Network Facebook page for any changes that we have or any other announcements. So next Sunday, December 20th, we'll be back. If you want to join us in the church, you can do that, or we will still be on Facebook Live, of course, live streaming. And December 24th, Christmas Eve, 7 p.m. We will be in the space in the church doing our special 12 Powers Christmas candlelight service. You are welcome to be there in person for that, or also attend on Facebook Live. Michael Wright, do you have any other announcements, any updates? I'm kind of putting you on the spot.
I did speak with our contractor, Wilfredo,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll be meeting with him tomorrow. to sign the permit for the removal of the canopy. So it should be happening soon.
Excellent.
So I'm excited about that.
Oh, that's great. Great.
That's it.
All right. Thanks, Michael.
Mhm.
All right. So now, if you have your love offering with you, or if you have already placed it, hold that in your hand, or visualize your gift in your mind, and hold it in heart-centered intention as we affirm our blessing over our offering. Divine love, working through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, all that I receive, and I am grateful. And as we prepare to close out our service with a peace song, I want us to, you can close your eyes if you want, and visualize all sentient beings on this earth standing together, hand in hand, heart to heart, and soul to soul. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator. Family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. And let us pray together our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Think of your fellow man, lend him a helping hand, put a little love in your heart. You see it's getting late, oh please don't hesitate, put a little love in your heart, and the world will be a better place, and the world will be a better place for you and me. You just wait and see. Another day goes by and still the children cry. Put a little love in your heart. I want the world to know we won't let hatred grow. Put a little love in your heart, and the world will be a better place, and the world will be a better place for you and me. You just wait and see. Take a good look around, and if you're looking down, put a little love in your heart. I hope when you decide, kindness will be your guide. Put a little love in your heart, and the world will be a better place, and the world will be a better place for you and me. You just wait and see. Put a little love in your heart. 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 Thanks for being here, everybody, and have a great week. Hi, Ruth. I miss you. It's good to see your face. Anybody else want to come on? Show us your faces. Yay. All right. For everybody that came in a little bit late, all is well. It's good to see everybody. So, all right. Have a great week, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.